Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Flower School Live. I hope you've had a good week so far. How are you doing? It's almost the end of the month. Can you believe it? January is just about over. Have you made your commitments to yourself? Have you been committed to your resolutions? Have you been busy being the best you ever? I haven't been. You always think, oh, I'm going to eat healthier, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I've been sort of just regular, but it's been a good January. It's been kind of fun. It's been crazy busy here at the school. So many students getting started online. The classroom's been busy. In fact, today, Teacher Shell is over there, and they are working on the business of flowers, designing to a price point, making sure that they price things appropriately so that they are profitable. Those of you that have been through classes, you know that designing to a price point gets tricky. And we're not doing pricing today. That's not what we're here for, but that's what they're doing in the classroom today, because the business of flowers is really a big, important part of what we do as floral designers. Today, though, we're going to be doing weddings in the Flower School Live. Wedding trends, what's to expect in 2020, what's going on out there, and it's going to be grand fun. You can see behind me so many beautiful flowers, and Jeri Barr from Bella Bloom Florals is going to be talking with us about trends, what she sees from her clients as they come to her, and then also her peers and co-workers and what's happening out there. She does so many weddings. I think that she'll be the perfect expert to share the thoughts that are kind of going across the world in weddings. But before I bring her on, a question for you, because it is a collaboration. It's all about the tribe. It's all about you. So the question for you to start off, if you will type in there, how many weddings have you done? I know that's a big question. How many weddings have you done? Maybe you've done one, maybe you've done three, maybe you've done 600. I was amazed when I asked the question about how many Valentine days, and we had people that were first time to 40 to 50 to, I heard we just had one person with 73 Valentine's days they've worked. Can you imagine 73? So this person must have started when they were very, very, very young, and they have lived a long, grand life, and they're still Valentining. But today I want to know, how many weddings have you done? So if you'll take a moment, type in there, put your tulip if you're part of the tribe. Let us know where you're from, and then how many weddings. And then you can all get to know each other and chat about that and be ready to go. With us in the studio, we've got Carolyn and Marisa watching, and they'll be keeping track of how many weddings so that they can let me know. And then we have Caledonia and Susie both online, taking care of answering your questions, greeting you. So if you have thoughts and questions, type it in. Between the team, we'll catch them. We'll verbalize them, try to get them all answered in the next hour. But before we go too much further, let's get started, because I know we've got so many things we want to share with you. If you haven't typed it in there, do it. Come on. How many weddings? If you know somebody who should be here with us, tag them, share this video out, and let them know that we're doing Wedding Trends 2020. So I'm going to ask Jeri to come on up and join me, because this is going to be our resident expert.
Hello.
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here.
And you match the decor. I am like, oh my gosh, I didn't get the memo.
I feel like we work together here.
Well,
this works.
I guess I sort of matched this
Right,
part.
right,
Okay,
right.
not too bad.
Actually, Renee was commenting how you look so cute with your shirt matching the flowers. So
Okay,
you do
so I
match.
guess it does look okay on camera. And then we've got the golden mustard.
Right.
Oh, I'm impressed.
I love this color right now.
It is so on trend. Are you seeing it in a lot of weddings?
Yeah. Lots of clients wanting to work it in with neutral palettes and with burgundy palettes, but a lot of requests for mustards. So
Oh, I love it. It is such a fun color. There's more and more roses coming in with it. Now, you're at Bella Bloom's Floral, which is a studio-based wedding florist, and you have done so many weddings. This last year, I know, 60, 70, 80?
Oh, I think we capped at about 70 last year.
70 weddings last year.
Yeah, but we're a small team, and that's plenty to keep us out of trouble. So
There comes a point you have to
Right.
think about how
Right.
many is too many and how many is just enough.
and how many many emails those weddings generate, right?
Oh,
All
have
the-
you guys known that one? How many emails? How many? Okay, now this is a question you probably didn't think I would ask. So you
Uh-oh.
might not have an answer,
Okay.
but that just makes me think. When you meet with a bride, okay, you say at such and such a day you meet with the bride, such and such a day you're going to deliver this wedding. Guesstimate of how many communication points?
Oh gosh, every client is so different about that one. I have some clients that will, we'll meet, we'll talk about flowers, they'll book, and we'll have to reach back out to them like, okay, let's wrap things up, and then other clients will email us a couple times a week. So our software system keeps track of how many edits we've done to contracts, and some of them get up into the 20s. Not very many, but some of them, and you look forward to those wedding dates sometimes.
It's like, please,
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So now while you're here today, you're going to be doing a bouquet with us and talking about what trends you're seeing out there and the concepts that the couples are asking for. Flower-wise, what did you pick here? Why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
So I had some fun at the wholesale market this morning. I really feel that bright flowers, monochromatic designs are going to be a big trend in 2020. So that's what I grabbed. So I grabbed some Japanese ranunculus, some tulips, some peach hypericum. You're gonna hold it to the center. Look at these beauties.
I was just like, I took my breath away when I walked in because Jeri had picked everything up and brought it in with her. But Japanese ranunculus, and look at the color on that.
I know, they're amazing.
Exquisite, absolutely exquisite. Tap your screen if you love those. Show them some love because those are
Look
great.
at them with the butterfly ranunculus. Just so pretty. I love butterfly ranunculus. They look so delicate, but they hold so well. Here, come loose.
That's true. The butterfly ranunculus seems fragile when you look at it, but they're super long lasting. Yeah, and they are a beautiful addition to this palette of bright colors. It's kind of nice to see bright come back after blush.
Right. Well, and
Blush is still here.
it's so funny how we talk about trends, but what's trending for us as designers and what we're using at shows and what we're showcasing is not always exactly what our clients are buying too, right? Sometimes they're more interested in last year's trend. So I did bring in some taupey spray roses as well because I feel like I'm using this color a ton in weddings, even for 2020 still. And I know the taupes and the mauves, roses like Coco Loco were so hot last year,
Right.
but I still see them, trending.
Things don't change overnight.
Right. Well, and I think sometimes the West Coast, maybe we're just a little bit behind other trends, but.
So yeah, those are grand. Oh my gosh. So now, as you get ready for your bouquet, I'm going to let you go ahead and grab some things out while you're gathering. Marisa, Carolyn, what's going on out there?
Leanne, I'm going to grab that wire from right behind you.
Well, we've got lots of busy designers out there. AA Flowers has done 7 weddings.
How many?
7.
Okay, AA Flowers, 7 weddings.
Brittany 2. Greg has done a few dozen-ish.
Dozen-ish, I love that.
Janet does about 20 per year. And then Lorraine has done 15. So we've got some wonderful brand new designers.
That's pretty wonderful. It's amazing to me. The first time that I really called myself a florist and I was working independently, that first year, I only did 3 weddings. And I thought I worked my tail off, and I worked so hard to get those 3 weddings. I had to beg for them. And then by the time I stopped doing weddings, my final year, which is probably why I stopped doing weddings, I did over 90 weddings that year.
Geez.
And I was about ready to just say, I hate my life. I hate my life.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I burned out. So the fact that you said, 70 is what we do is smart.
Well, we've tried to do more per weekend, but you just can only go so many days without sleeping. And, if you're the setup and the cleanup crew, sometimes it's a lot, right?
It is a lot. As you're sitting there at 2 a.m. going, I just want to go to my bed.
And you should probably not hate your life, right? we should like what we do. So we have to draw some lines and some limits. It's so hard this time of year. As we start booking up as wedding florists, having to say no to people. Oh gosh, especially when it's feast or famine in our business, right? We're
Right.
slower this time of year, so busy, at least in Oregon in the summer, because that's when so many folks want to get married. Just creating an armature for this bouquet.
You know, hold it out so they can sort of see against I think if you just hold it like
Oh.
this, then they can see because it's got the bare wall. So you're doing an armature of floral netting, okay?
Yep, and I just made a little tube and I'll kind of push in the sides and connect them to each other, keeping all those pokey edges to the inside so
Yeah.
nobody gets poked. But-
Marisa, what do you have going on there?
So I have a question for Jeri.
Yeah.
So if you have a client that does call you and you aren't able to fulfill their wedding, do you refer them to somebody else, or what do you do?
Yeah, I think that yes, when I can, I do, and when we have time, I'll reach out to other florists in Portland that I know and see if they're available. It's so tricky though, as everyone starts to book up. You know, I hate to refer to a whole bunch of other people that are booked as well. So this time of year, I feel like I have a lot of people I can refer to, and then as the season goes on and I hear that everyone's booked, it becomes more challenging to refer out to people. So, but I try to get an idea of what people are looking for and fit them with another Portland florist that I think would do a great job for them.
That is so wise, because you hate to just say no and
Yeah.
not give them anywhere to turn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they've waited to the last minute and there isn't a good place to refer, you don't want to refer poorly. You
Well,
want to.
and sometimes like finding great referrals for them is an investment in your time, and you know, you don't always have a lot of, and I don't want to give them a poor referral. So sometimes I just give them referral. But what were you saying?
Yeah.
I lost my train of
No,
thought.
that's good. I was going to ask Marisa, how many weddings have you got on your list?
Oh, okay. Are you ready? You have
Are
to
we
brace
ready?
yourself. Okay, so let's see. Josh booked his first one. Molly has done 6 big ones, several small. Lori, thousands. Teresa, who is a student of ours, our past student graduate, she's done 3. Natasha has done 432.
Wow, I love that she knows an exact number.
Jen, who is a past graduate from last year, has done her first one. Karen, one of our past online students, has done 5, including her own. They're still coming. Courtney has done 3 to 4. Rand, hundreds. Helen, 50 plus. Andrea, too many to count. Carolyn booked her first wedding for 2021.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and
Why don't you turn this way a little bit?
Andrea,
There we
too
go.
many to
That way we
count.
can
Renee,
see.
100. Loretta, 3, and I think the last one was Martina at 140.
Nice job.
Isn't this great? So
Thousands.
it really is. And you know, that's what makes this so much fun is we have people in the tribe with so much experience that is willing to join and share.
Right.
And then we have brand
And we
new
need that
people.
today.
Oh
We
my
need that
gosh.
today.
Yes, because we can all learn from each other. So I have one more question for the tribe out there. Who has done 0 weddings? Who is considering doing weddings? Just go ahead and type in there, I'm a newbie, and let us know. I'd just be curious to see who is thinking about doing weddings, because sometimes that's something you're just getting ready for. And if that's the case, seeing Jeri's creating this bouquet. Now, she made the armature, and then it's salal that you've got going in weaving.
Yeah, so I just weave salal in to make a handle, really. At the end of the day, you're not going to see a lot of this. It's just a
Okay.
little base, starts to hide my armature, gives me some sort of control over my armature, and I tend to use something inexpensive. Like, I don't want to use an expensive green because really
not
I'm
gonna
just
show
going to hide
anyway.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So there is a budget saving tip when you're covering and building your handle. It's not going to show, so just find the least expensive foliage that you enjoy working with.
Yeah, and it's a little bit bendy. That's important when you're trying to really manipulate it into an armature. So,
And then you're taping it with 1-inch tape. Marisa, what do you have?
Becky actually wants to know about what size you made that armature and how do you know what size to make it?
how do I know what size? I think I've done it enough times that you just kind of get a feel. But
It was basically a 12-inch by 7 inches, 12 by 8.
It's just slightly larger than that piece.
And then rolled around. But you're correct, it takes practice. So that's something for each of you to try. And I know when we do it in the classroom, sometimes students start with really big and then they go, oh my gosh, it's too big. And sometimes students start too small and knowing just the right size.
And I also think it just depends on what you're after as far as an end product. Sometimes a really small armature with lots of dancing flowers is the way to go. If you have a lot of heavy blooms that you need a lot of support, maybe you want a little bit bigger armature so they really have some stability. So maybe something you have to experiment with a little bit, yeah.
So there's your answer that's a
I
non-answer,
know.
is that you have to experiment, which is really important and true. Yeah. You know, we have a class coming up in February that Jeri's going to be teaching with us, Wedding Trends and Techniques. It's February 20th and 21st. And one of the bouquets we'll be experimenting with will, of course, have floral netting because it is so on trend. So if you want to join us here in Portland, Oregon, and work with teacher Jeri directly, there is space for 12 people. I know there's some people already in there, so let's say there's maybe space for 8 more people, something like that. And you can come and experiment with the floral netting and get one-on-one time with Jeri to see how the bouquets are done. Because a lot of it is trial and error and getting used to what works. Okay, what have you got there?
Okay, so I have some leucodendron. Even though I'm going to work all in this peachy kind of coral orange palette, I wanted just a little bit of soft greenery to kind of complement that. So I have some leucodendron, and I'm not going to run it through my armature. I'm going to run it to the outside of my armature, so it'll kind of pull to the sides for me.
So this gives it that softer green hue, which is so lovely.
Well, and a change in texture. I feel like, very textural bouquets right now is, very popular and trending with at least my clients.
Yeah,
So
I would have to agree. Yes.
So I would like to give props here. I see Jennifer, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm going to say Miley. She's actually a brand new online student and emailed me her round design, and she did an exceptional job.
Oh, nice.
Oh, congratulations, Jennifer, and welcome to Flower School.
And then also, I have Julie Vanilla that I see on, who is also a newbie and online student, and it looks like she just got her first job at a flower shop.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow. So, make sure you let us know where you're working because we always kind of stalk you guys. So when you get a chance, put in the shop name so that we know and we can keep track of who's where. So that's exciting. Oh, my God. Carolyn, what you got?
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Catherine, who just joined us on YouTube. She's our newest basic graduate as of today.
Ooh, Catherine, I just signed your certificate. It was sitting on my desk when I walked in this afternoon, and I stopped before I did anything else and signed it off. So it'll be going out to you. So congratulations. So proud of you. So basic floral design certificate, done. Time to move on to advanced and get moving even further. Maybe come to Portland, join us for the Wedding Trends and Technique class. All kinds of fun. How much more would you like, are you thinking?
A couple more pieces.
A couple more. Looking for the perfect ones,
Some long laterals, Leanne.
Long laterals.
So as I'm kind of building into this, do you want to talk about, can we share a few other things that are kind of trending as far as flowers and foliages?
Certainly.
Or is that going to complicate?
No, I think we should.
Multitask here?
That's right.
We're women florists. We can, florists in general, right? But
Florists in general can figure it out. So one of the things that I'm seeing in the trends, and I know you've mentioned it to me several times as well, is the local and seasonal that's going on.
Yeah.
And sourcing things from as close as possible or even growing it yourself.
Well, definitely growing it yourself. I mean, I wish. That just seems like the ideal. Like you just go out to your garden and you make a beautiful bouquet, right? I'm jealous for those who have that opportunity.
That cutting garden that just is beautiful and picturesque. You might need, 3 or 4 gardeners to assist.
I for sure would, but I have a lot of clients asking for local product. They like the idea of supporting local farmers or just local businesses in general. And so I do see that that's a big trend. But I also think that goes along with one of the biggest trends right now is sustainable weddings, and we're gonna get to that. But I think that whole local thing goes along with that.
Definitely.
But I did grab some local Portland products. So there wasn't a ton of local product right now, being that it's January. But grab some eucalyptus from a farm out in McMinnville, J. Bacon Farms. And they have eucalyptus year round, and it's beautiful. And then grab some maidenhair fern from Peter Court Roses, and they're in Hillsborough. I grabbed both of these from the wholesale market, but
We are truly blessed to have local farms here with wonderful product, which is so nice. And then I know the tulips were local as well, and not the roses at this point.
not the
Wrong
roses.
season.
If we could have, I would have bought local roses, but
And we will later.
Yes.
It's just that it's a little cold right
a little
now.
cold right now for sure.
Oh my gosh.
And then I spray painted a little bit of bay, and I'll work it into this bouquet in the end.
You know, that's another trend right now is all the painted foliages. It's kind of amazing. And it gives you the perfect hue, just exactly what you need. Marisa,
Well,
what you got there?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
As
go
you're
ahead.
putting that in, this is the perfect question. So Karen wants to know, how do you work with spray flowers in an armature? It always seems to destroy my stems, especially spray mums. So since those are spray roses, how do you design with those?
So my armature, if you see here, my armature is right down here, and all my flowers are extending out out the top of the armature. So I'm not trying to pull all that down into the armature. So it's not affecting them. I suppose if the laterals were really long, that would be something you'd have to consider, because as you pulled it through the armature, you would, smush things down together. But in this case, the spray roses are perfect. The laterals are just the right length. Just shooting Leanne with stems to come out the top, to come out the top of the armature. So they work just fine in there. So I suppose if you had something with really long laterals and you wanted to use it and you couldn't get it to work in your armature the way you wanted to, you could bring your flowers to the outside of your armature. That's always an option. Everything doesn't need to run into your armature. It's still working for you as an armature, even though you're bringing flowers to the outside. You're making them kind of behave and curve in the direction that you want them to.
Beautiful.
Well, it's not quite there yet.
But it's coming, yeah. Other questions for Jeri as she's working along here? I know you've got, you're taping again with the 1 inch. I just want to point that out so that everybody sees what you're doing.
Yes.
And then you might give them a hold again so that they can see, yeah. And then
I always tease because I'm kind of a tape hog, but it's nice and thin
and it's safe then.
right.
While you're gathering things, I think Marisa had another question for you.
Yes, Carolyn is asking, please, if you can answer this question. So she has a bride coming up, let's see, that is asking for red amaranthus, and the wedding is in February, and they're not in season in England, and the wholesaler cannot supply them. What would you use for a substitute?
Would dried work at all?
Yeah.
Amaranthus?
Red amaranthus, red hanging amaranthus.
Yeah, so we have dried in our studio. It loses its color. You could tint it. It would be a dried. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, and it's going to be more fragile. But with the whole trend of like dried botanicals, I don't know what your client is after. Something else drippy. What about something like pepperberry? Pepperberry would be beautiful if that was in season for her. Any other ideas? Something hangy and red.
Probably the wrong season. Veronia could be tinted more red and could give you a little bit of movement. But I think you're using the dried and or preserved is probably the best alternative, because then it's the same product, just in a different format.
It just depends on the client, right? And how willing they are to... But I would think that a faux amaryllis, wouldn't be so beautiful. Sometimes you can get away with something that's not real mixed into a real bouquet and it'll look lovely, but that seems like it'd be a tricky one.
That would be a tough one, yes, definitely. Now, as we are preparing for our Wedding Trends and Technique class, we were updating again, because it's kind of fun how every year it has to be different because trends and techniques change. And so we had always added in the compote, and we'll still be talking about compotes because they're there, but statement pieces. I mean, that is so on trend.
I think that's a huge trend right now. I think we've moved away from weddings where they want little bits of flowers all over. I feel like today's client wants like a wow piece. Be it their altarpiece or a photo booth or some other sort of like big statement piece. But I see that as a huge trend. And I think an opportunity as florists to build something really awesome and fun. Speaking of photo booths, I also think that is this opportunity for us as florists to, reach out to our clients and find out if they want any floral in that space. I have so many clients who either want professional photo booth or some sort of spot like their client, or their guests can take pictures. So I've started asking my clients if that's a spot they would like to add floral.
And I am seeing floral in the booths so much more. Both staged florals as well as loose florals to hold. And you see people with them in their teeth, behind their ears, and it's like, oh my God.
But it's so refreshing to see
Isn't
people,
it though?
Playing with flowers. Yeah.
And they're having fun
Right?
with floral. That is so true. Oh my
I
God.
think I have enough
Enough
tulips in
tulips?
there. Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Jerry,
Yes.
Karen wants to know, how come your eucalyptus was like, the leaves were so easy to remove? I guess the ones that she uses, it's just to pick them off one by one.
Maybe it's a little bit of a heavier spiral uke. I think it's probably just a different variety.
Definitely. This one
We're
does
pretty
not have as
spoiled.
much sap on it either. So
right.
where your hands get really disgusting, this one didn't. So sorry, this is just our wonderful eucalyptus. It's specially grown for Floral Design Institute.
I wish I could specifically remember. I've talked and had this conversation with Eric at J. Bacon Farms and about like the different varieties, and they have so many varieties, but I believe this is baby blue, and it's a little bit lighter than like the traditional like spiral,
Right.
which we have some out that direction.
Yeah,
But,
the traditional spiral is just a lot denser
Yeah.
and harder to do.
and the oil is much more intense.
Yeah.
So
I think, Caroline, have you got something over there too?
Yes. Tess has a great question for you, Jerry. She's wondering, are you doing your bouquet as a weave or a spiral?
I would say more of a weave. I'm certainly not spiraling it. I'm really using that armature as the mechanic for my bouquet. I will spiral the stems across each other a little bit, but really it would be more of a weave. I'm weaving them into that armature, I'm weaving them across each other and through kind of the base greens that I started with to create the handle of the armature.
And that's another thing. Let's show them the end. Even though you're weaving and spiraling combined, look how neat and tidy. There's nothing, messy down there, and the stems all still line up so well. That's something
Well, no, I'll clean them up more, but
Right, but even basic floral design, we teach that. You got to make sure your stems and the handle looks as polished
especially in
and
a
professional.
bridal bouquet, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
come
for sure.
on. Marisa.
Yes, so Lori wants to know, with all the taping that you're doing, does that prevent you from inserting through the handle?
No, it's a good question. No, it doesn't get in my way at all. People always ask me about my taping because I do tend to tape a lot. But I really like the control. I really like to be able to lay my bouquet down, if I have a moment where I'm frustrated with it. And so, we all have that where you just need to walk away for a second. And so anyway, that's why I tape so much. But no, it doesn't get in my way. Most of my stems are weaving down through and across the main handle, so it doesn't become a problem for me at all. So
This is something too, as each of you are experimenting with the different styles. Obviously, if you can do it in a classroom, fabulous, because you've got the time with the teacher just standing right there guiding you. If you can't do it in the classroom, doing it online still gives you that teacher support. But the most important thing is to do it. even if you're at home on your own, to just experiment with it. Don't wait until it's your wedding or somebody's wedding you're doing for the first time to try it. Invest in yourself and practice with flowers. You're worth it, and your career is worth it.
Well,
And
and
I
make
think
friends with some wedding photographers, right?
that way they can take pictures of the beauty. Yeah.
Practice for a photo shoot, something where there's no pressure and you just get to play. I decided I needed to run a little additional leucodendron to hide my armature just a
Down
little
into the
bit
center.
more.
So
Yeah.
you can always go back and add it later, which that is a nice thing. I know that Marisa and Carolyn may have some other questions for
Perfect.
you too.
We can feed them to you all day. Okay, so this has to do with tulips, and we
Okay.
each have 2 questions in regards
Okay,
to that. So,
tulips.
Yeah, so Lisa wants to know how you keep your tulips from snapping when you're designing with them. And then Kelly asks, since tulips keep growing, do you place them lower into your bouquet?
Both great questions. Keep them from snapping. If they're a little bit warmer when you're working with them, not like right out of the cold cooler, I feel like that helps. Do you find that as well?
I do too. Yeah, room temperature makes all the difference.
And then also, you know which flowers are those ornery misbehaviors, right? And so those are the ones that I'm going to weave in. Oh gosh, words, they're so tricky. But I'm going to weave those in first so that I have space. I can, manipulate the angles more. Where things like these beautiful ranunculus, the stem is so skinny, it's just so much easier. So I get those flowers that are more tricky in first. And then tulips and growing. So if I were making this and the wedding were a couple days from now, I would sink my tulips about an inch deeper than where I really want them to be.
Because they are going to grow. Yeah.
Also, I tend to steer away from tulips when I'm making a design that doesn't have additional dancers, so that if they do, have a mind of their own, it still works with whatever I've created.
Right. And these stems are so strong and stiff. These are fabulous.
These are amazing.
Other questions?
Yes, how do you choose your flowers for a bride after you have the consultation? What's your thought process?
Oh gosh, it'd be interesting to hear what everyone else thinks about this as well. I feel like clients today have so much information. I feel like we have to steer them in the right direction, and we have to steer them away from flowers that don't make sense or are not seasonal, things like that. But so oftentimes they're dictating, they've seen something that they love. So they're kind of starting that. They've shown me pictures or inspiration. Something's coming up over and over on their Pinterest page. And so that's kind of how I'll start to choose flowers for a client.
It's so true. Both Pinterest and Instagram has changed the way we sell wedding flowers because the couple is more educated. They may not know the names of things, they may not know pricing and availability, but they know the picture they like. And so they show up with more of these pictures, and you're like, okay, 800 pictures later, I see you like red roses.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an advantage when you're like today, if you're starting out though, because I think before you had to bring your portfolio and here's my book of work. And now I kind of chuckle to myself when a client doesn't ask to see any of my work, but would like me to produce something. And I suspect they have really, they've gone to the website or social media or whatever, and they've seen our work. But I don't present them with any books or whatever. They just say, here, this is what I want. Here's my Pinterest page, make it happen. I go, okay, that's fabulous.
So
happy to
true.
do it.
So now when you teach at the class in February, I
Yeah.
keep saying you, it's going to be
Yeah, there's
you
gonna be a
and
bunch
the
of us.
team. We'll be doing bouquets.
Yeah.
We'll be doing statement pieces.
Yes.
And I know that you wanted to make sure and address the sustainability because that is such a big trend and the foam-free options and such.
I feel like it's a trend with clients and you need to speak to it, but I also think it's so much conversation about it, right, with florists right now. So it's really something that I'm excited to address and talk more about.
I think having that in the classroom where we can have that discussion and help spread the education with everyone so that every person can then make decisions for their business that make sense, that go along with their values. And the more educated you are, the more you can make good decisions. Marisa, you've got something.
Yes, so Jeri,
Yes.
you're gonna love this.
Oh no, is it a
No,
hard
no,
one?
No, it's,
Okay.
you're gonna love this.
Okay.
So Lisa Did 4 weddings last year. First one was her son's wedding. Made the armature.
Gosh, Lisa.
Yes, but listen, she made the armature for the bride's bouquet so big, it was huge, beautiful, but huge, haha. I used that taping technique. I learned it from Jeri on another Facebook Live.
Oh, nice. I like it. She likes control too. I'm right with her. So.
I love it.
And then Harmony wants to know if you ever draw out your arrangements.
Draw them out. Oh, sketch them? Oh man, I wish. If you've ever had a class with me, I do try to like sketch on the whiteboard what we're making, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty, I wish I had that talent.
You know, there are some
No.
people that is so natural. They're like, boop, 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 boop. But I'm like,
No,
oh.
my flowers are like stick people flowers.
I
It's
know,
not.
like X,
Yeah,
O,
yeah. I'm like, I
line.
swear it's a flower. But for clients, no, I wish I could do that for clients. But no, for clients, I put together like a picture board. Like I grab images from Google, you know.
Right.
So and
So that you've got things to show
Yes.
them. Yeah, definitely. Marisa.
So many good things. Stacy has a really great tip about tulips.
I like it.
Yes, she says if you keep your bouquet in the cooler, be sure to keep the lights out overnight to discourage the tulips from growing.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
It's interesting because tulips are both phototropic and geotropic. So they grow against gravity and they grow to the light. So as long as you've got them upright, they're growing against gravity. And then if you turn the lights off, then it won't affect that as well. So excellent. Now, one thing that I told them at the very beginning is that
Yes.
we weren't going to discuss pricing.
Okay.
And we're not going to on this.
Okay, because I haven't done that math yet.
Yeah,
Leanne.
no, we're not going to. So I just wanted to nip that in the bud. But if you are concerned about pricing and all of that, yes, in the wedding class we do touch on pricing because that's something that as a profitable florist you need. And then immediately following the wedding class is the entrepreneur's weekend. So the wedding class is the 20th and 21st, and then the entrepreneur weekend is the 22nd and 23rd. And that's where we go into total profitability, spreadsheets, pricing, sourcing, buying, marketing, social media, all of that. So if you're thinking about coming in from out of town, bump the two together. 4 days in the city, it'd be pretty fabulous. 2 days with the tulip team doing flowers, and then 2 days with the tulip team doing business. Oh, that was just kind
Sorry.
of a big, long one. Let me get way back here.
It's going to attack
I
you.
love it. But it's something that you really do have to have. And I just know that Jeri has another bouquet she wants to share with you today, too. So I wanted to nip the pricing, but let you know, yes, we will be addressing it in the class and then also in the Entrepreneurs Weekend. So if those are burning questions for you,
Well, and
that's
pricing
it.
would be so. It's
gonna-
not exciting.
No.
It's important.
It's important, but it's
And
not
it's exciting
exciting.
to make money.
The wedding trends and techniques is going to be exciting, and then the entrepreneurs is going to be exciting because it's how you make money.
And I
But
love
you
all
don't
those
have
fun
that.
things to think about. And
Yeah.
Anyway, it's great to. The Entrepreneurs Weekend is one of my favorites because you're with these like-minded people that are really working to grow their business, to be the best they can for their clients, and so it's
And there's so much
It's meeting of the
creative.
minds,
Yes,
yeah.
There's creativity in business.
Yes.
because you
Oh,
have
for
to go
sure.
through it.
Yeah.
Marisa, Carolyn, what else? Because I know we've got about 20 minutes left with Jeri.
Okay, so Kim, speaking of pricing, wants to know, so she is struggling with balancing creativity with profitability and is curious to know at what point do you consider the budget for a bouquet? Before, beginning, during, or just when?
Oh, when do you consider it? From the start. So a client brings you all sorts of inspirations. For us, then we take those inspirations and we build out a recipe. The recipe dictates the price. The price is the price. If a client asks for it to be a different price, we ask what they would like to change. It's not that we don't love everyone and want to be everyone's florist, but at the end of the day, we work really hard to work for free. So it's important to me to price correctly. What was the other part of that question, Marisa? When do we?
Just basically, when do you address the budget? And I think you did fully answer it.
Okay.
So that you start with it. Because there's
Yeah.
no sense wasting your time or their time if you're not even in the same mode. That's for sure.
Well, and the recipe then, so you have that recipe from the get-go. When you created the proposal and gave it to the client, I don't share the recipe with the client.
But you got it
But
so
I
that
have
you
it.
know what your profitability is, which is vital. Definitely.
So I know every extra stim I put in there, that's my
And you're
paycheck.
like, Oh, so much for the kids' new shoes.
Right?
No kids' shoes
Who
this
needs
year.
dance lessons? Don't tell Evelyn.
I know Evelyn would be very sad if she didn't have her dance lessons.
Right?
Now, that brings up for a moment the trend that I see happening, not necessarily with the weddings, but with our industry,
Yeah.
is that people are choosing to work in such a way
Yeah.
that it builds a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I know that that's why you do weddings. That's
Yeah.
why you started your business. They don't know that. Tell them a little bit about why you chose this avenue.
Yeah, well, I've always loved weddings, so that was kind of natural. And then wedding flowers allows me to really like pick and choose, like when I take clients. Like I already have my weekends off, that are going to happen, like vacations are going to happen in the summer. But not having a storefront for me, there's some limitations, right? Some pros and some cons, but for me it allows me to pick a kiddo up from school or stay home with a sick kid sometimes, and of course not on a wedding day or things like that, but it does give me some flexibility. And I feel like when I first began, that was less acceptable. And so I agree with you. I feel like it's more and more acceptable. Like we're thinking about people's mental health and their time with their family, and all those things seem to be more of a conversation now than they have been in the past.
And I think that is also what is leading the business movement, because people are realizing if they don't work their business well, then they're not making enough money to make the judgment of how hard they want to work and when they work. But if you do your business side and your life planning side, you actually end up doing better work because you're not exhausted. And so everybody wins.
And it would be it would be hard to find motivation to do an amazing job if you're, if it's not sustaining the rest of your life, right? That would
That's
be
a
tricky.
good way of putting it. It needs to sustain the rest of your life. That's
Right.
very good words. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you to maybe finish that
Okay.
enough to set it aside.
I'm gonna run a little tiny bit of hypericum in there, and then
Because I know you've got something else you want to
No,
do.
I want to share some other things. I have so many
Yeah.
things to share, Leanne. And I can put this down for a little bit, but it's not quite done yet. But we can come back.
We
if we
can
have
always
time.
come
But look at that
back.
hypericum in there. It's gonna be
Oh, the
fabulous.
hypericum is fabulous
We'll
in
come-
there.
we'll come back
Hey, what
to
do you guys
that.
think? Do you like it? If you do, tap the screen, give Jeri some love, share this out so that more people can see Jeri at work in her natural element here, and then tag a friend who maybe should be watching this. Spread the word. And if you're thinking about flower school, Jeri will be teaching in the basic course that starts on February 24th. The advanced course. Then she's also teaching in the wedding trends and techniques class. So pick a class that you want to come to Portland, Oregon, and come join us and play with flowers
Right.
and learn. Doesn't that look great against the bare wall so that everybody can see a little more? You can see it's just dropped down in the vessel for now. Now you're going to probably cut stems short for the bride. What is your stem handle length normally? What is the new in your world?
I like one hand, maybe a hand and a half, as far as like a ribbon wrap. I feel like the trend is pretty short right now. They want this idea that it was like gathered and tied. And then the stem length, I think the trend is pretty short as well, but I want to leave enough so it feels like it's not going to fall out of their hand. So generally about a hand and a half again, depending on, sometimes the client will share preference with me. When we first make bouquet, we tend to leave the stems a little bit longer.
So that they can sit in water.
And it's easier, and I feel like it's more balanced in the vase. And then as we go out the door with it, we'll cut it down to where we think the client would most like it. So
See, that's the same thing I'm seeing, because we used to teach 2 to 3 hands, and now it really is a hand to a hand and a half, because the handles have just gotten smaller. But if you're too small, you're right, it doesn't fit their hand well. And
especially if it's a big bouquet. I have a lot of clients who are like, I want the stems really short. And I always say, well, we'll shorten it on site if you want it shorter. But what I'm worried about is them trying to hold all that weight with
Yeah,
a really
it's
short
just
handle.
wrong.
Yeah.
Definitely. So now you were going to talk to us about the centerpieces and such, and what options we had there. So this container I absolutely adore. It's a rusted metal. I love this.
So the only con is that we have the larger version of this in our studio as well, and water, it is kind of rusty, and so water will continue to rust it. So
It
you have to
does.
be a little bit careful where you're putting it for a client, things
So
like
it does
that.
have a liner inside.
It does have a liner,
to
yes, but
protect
you
it.
don't want the outside wet.
Right, because it would ruin it. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
So I'm just going to tape it in. My thought with this particular idea, need a knife, Leanne. Here's one. With this particular container is that so much discussion amongst florists, right, about using alternative mechanics. And so this is an option. You have a client who wants a big, long head table floral, and you don't want to use something like foam cages, or you could use something like this, some low container that you could put some chicken wire in, right? Oh, chicken wire, I always go there. Floral net, I mean, when I'm using my fancy
when you've
words.
got your fancy words, it's
right?
floral netting, and then when you go to work, it's the chicken wire.
Come on now, I'm out in Sherwood. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so I rolled a piece of floral net in there. There's the piece we cut up, right? But I just went and I rolled that and I slipped it in there, so I have kind of a tube of floral net, and then I've gone ahead and taped that down in there so I know it's going to stay. And then from here, and I won't finish this all the way out, but I love the idea of sharing an alternative,
Right. So that they can do something if you want to be foam free, if you want to look at that side of things, using the floral netting gives you the flexibility. There's still going to be a water source in here, so the flowers are still going to last really well.
Oops.
And then this whole concept would seem to me, I'd be very flexible for use in so many different ways.
Yeah, so anyway, my idea was if this were a big long head table, maybe you would use a little bit longer boxes, but for today this made more sense. Or you could, add multiple boxes. But then also this could be a beautiful piece down the aisle, and you could transfer it to the head table. I know I have some clients that love that. It's not always the easiest for us as florists, but sometimes it's a way to obtain a client, some willingness to be flexible. So,
well, and this would be an easy one to deliver.
yeah.
I mean, it's very transportable.
It is. I feel though, I go back and forth. I love my environment, and I certainly want to, be sustainable, but I do think that things in foam are much easier to deliver.
The water's contained, period. Yes, there is truth to that.
So there's pros and cons to all mechanics, right?
Let's see, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about in the Wedding Trends and Techniques class, and I know we've started incorporating it into even basic floral design and advanced floral design, is be knowledgeable about all the different products so that you can make a decision as to what works for your business and in your environment, because it does vary. And there's not an absolute for anybody.
No, well, yeah, I think we do need to be a little bit open-minded and just think about all the different options that we have.
And the more you know, the more you can make a choice so that it goes. So we've got about 10 minutes left with Jeri. So if you guys have questions, get them typed in, because in 10 minutes we're going to have to say bye. Carolyn, do you have anything over there?
I do. I have a couple questions going back to the bridal bouquet.
Okay.
I had a great question. Do you ever do separate toss bouquets?
Oh, always. I think that I might push that on my clients sometimes. I think we spend so much time and sweat and tears perhaps, like making their bridal bouquet. The thought of them tossing it, now I get it, it's just gonna die, right? But still, does it have to die at the wedding? So I always make them a toss bouquet. I also think that the trend right now in bouquets is pretty oversized, and so it seems like it might be kind of a weapon to toss a full-size bridal bouquet. So we tend to make them a smaller toss bouquet. So.
I think that's probably wise. We don't want to hit anybody.
Yeah, our studio gifts that to our clients, and as long as they agree that it can be designer's choice, and then we'll use those little extra blooms that didn't make it to the rest of the party. So
I love it.
And then Janet had a great question. I know you touched on this a little bit, but is ribbon wrap still popular on bridal bouquets? And do you ever use like a tea leaf to wrap your candle on a bridal bouquet?
Okay, I think yes, ribbon wrap is probably what I see most often, but it is a shorter wrap. We grabbed some ribbon. So if I were going to wrap this, I would just wrap a couple widths of this ribbon around the handle. Of course, like cleaner and nicer, but this idea that it would just be a nice short wrap, that's what I see trending right now. Tea leaf, you could absolutely use tea leaf. I find it very challenging because it will kind of break in your hand. Maybe I'm not a patient enough designer, perhaps, but I think alternatives like that can work. for me, I would be concerned that it would break halfway through the day, something like that. But
as it dehydrates and such. So you're talking more of a band as opposed to a full handle wrap and leaving natural stems at the bottom.
I mean, forever we wrapped this up all the way down. Maybe we left a little to drink, right? But now I feel
Just
like
a little bit.
Yeah, it's this idea that they just market bouquet, right? Of course, they just threw this together from their garden. So
That's right. Marisa.
Okay, so Karen wants to know if you could tie up a bouquet with barbed wire without having to cover it. She just likes the look of it, but it still doesn't seem very finished.
barbed wire. So it probably depends on what she's using to secure her bouquet to begin with. You know, if she's using all this tape, and if you didn't have your barbed wire just right, you would still see a lot of tape. Maybe you cover it with some sort of green ribbon that really kind of mimicked your stem color and then put barbed wire. My only concern about barbed wire is I don't know how soft or how it would feel in the hand, or if it could be pokey. That would be my concern about barbed wire.
It could potentially even snag.
Oh
You
gosh,
have to be a
that'd be
little
the
bit
end of the
careful
world,
because
right?
it is a little bit scratchy.
Yeah.
And I love barbed wire as well. I love that texture, but it might be iffy in this situation.
But what about just an alternative to that? What about like a dark twine or something like that, where it was still natural? For clients who don't want like a super shiny ribbon, you can find like matte, more woven looking ribbons. Also, there's the color that I love that Offray does called banana green, but I've renamed it. It's called stem green in our studio.
Okay, that's better.
Right?
Yes.
Right? But it's just this, really matches this color quite well. And so if they're kind of looking for something that, doesn't look like it has a bunch of ribbon on it,
And it
that's
just
my go-to.
disappears
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Excellent.
Especially under their hand.
Yes.
So.
Okay. What other questions as she's putting things together here?
So this has to. Did you have okay? So this has to do with bigger arrangements.
Yeah.
So Bianca wants to know for oversized altar type pieces, what is your advice on getting the height without weighing it down, stacking heavy foam up?
Big altar pieces, what's my advice for making them big without making them heavy?
Yeah, without using so much foam in there, making it heavy.
I would say it's going to be heavy. Yeah, I mean, you can, if you don't want to use foam in those altar pieces, depending on what your container is, maybe your container is a big urn or something like that, you can use wire instead, but water is still heavy, right? You could put some sort of false bottom. A lot of large containers, when you buy them, like accent decor or whatever, have some sort of false, container in there, so you don't have to fill up the whole container. Do you have any other advice on that one?
It's something that we have taught so often in the large scale to do it in components so that you have several pieces that then fit together to create one really large bouquet. This finished piece is enormously heavy, but for delivery and transportation and setting it up and such, it's smaller individual pieces with nothing weighing more than, say, 30 pounds, so that you can actually manage it, because the end result could easily be 100 pounds if you're doing a really super huge thing with lots and lots of flowers. So with working in components, it can help take care of that, alleviate some of the weight. The false bottom is vital. Always using a false bottom. I use a lot of mache containers within another container, so that's the only portion, and it seems to work out pretty well.
And that's another opportunity we offer our clients, and I feel like it kind of goes along with the sustainable thing, is we use a lot of maches inside of other containers as well. The client's not buying the container. There's some pros and cons to that, right?
So they're renting the container
They're renting
from
the
you.
container. We can use it multiple times. It works out for us as far as profitability goes, and also for them, gives them more bang for their buck. Okay, so let's see, we'll put this back in here. So thanks for bringing this over. One last tip or trick that I want to share. I learned this from someone else, and it was one of those aha moments. So right now, the trend in weddings, and the trend in weddings for a while is to have these wedding signs, right? Welcome to our wedding. They were wood for a while,
Yes.
And for a while they had frames, and we could hook into the frames with bind wire. Teacher Carolyn just made a swag out of greenery. We could glue flowers in, and then I put some bind wire on the back. But now with this trend of acrylic, right? Acrylic everything
All of a
is
sudden you
so
can't-
hot right now.
Oh my
But there's
gosh.
nothing, there's no frame. There's nothing to, hide or hook into. And I can't use glue dots really because they show. So my trick is, so Leanne, grab me that board right there.
The board here,
Yep.
okay.
So, and I have to admit, I stole this from someone else, but those clear acrylic signs, if you go ahead and you put binder clips on them, you can put the back down, and then from there, I can take my bind wire and hook into the binder clips, and I'll just hold it for now. But then I have, this quiet, quick way to hook on the sign swag. From the back, I'll just take a loose leaf and a glue dot and just hook it to the back. Here, I'll show you from the front actually. But I'll just take that and a glue dot and put it right there. So from both sides, there's nothing to see. I know.
This is grand. Don't you love that?
It took me way too long to come up with. I
Oh
stole
my
it,
gosh.
but I was like, how are we going to do that? But anyway, so pass it along, right?
Well, and this just makes me so happy because I love binder clips.
I love binder clips
And I
too.
just bought a whole great big huge container of them, so now I need acrylic signs so I can use my
but
binder
they work
clips.
great on draping, all sorts of things. Binder
Yeah.
clips should be in your toolbox.
I'm thinking that you need a full assortment of sizes
Right.
of binder clips.
Right? I know.
Okay.
I know. I saw fancy gold ones at the store today and I was like,
Ooh.
but they weren't a very practical price point. So,
So we got these.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now back to you, the tribe. Carolyn and Marisa, did we have anybody list that they had 0 weddings? Or is it mostly that people have weddings?
I did have a few that said 0, but hopefully they're gonna be booking some soon.
Okay, so some that were just beginning, so looking at what the trends are.
Same here.
Same thing, okay. So if you're thinking about the wedding world, I'd encourage you to get involved. It is amazing and fabulous. It is extremely fatiguing and tiring. It can take over your life if you're not careful. And careful
Right.
planning. I loved when you said, I've already X'd out my weekends that I know are for families and vacations.
So I learned that one from you, though. I remember years ago, I said, how do you find the balance? Because it seems like it's awful hard. And you said, in advance. But it did take me a few years to embrace it because you think, oh no, I'm going to take all the weddings. It's going to be fine. Vacation in November. But if you don't give yourself a little break, you're not your best self. So.
And that's so true. And we always called it blue dot days because it was back in the days before computers. And we
It's like on the
had
calendar.
blue dots, and we put a blue dot on the calendar and say, this day we can't work.
Off limits.
Period. And this weekend, off limits. And we'd go through the year ahead of time and put in little dots and say, this is our time. And you're brilliant because then it makes you able to work really, really hard on those weddings where you might have a weekend filled with 3 or 4 or 5 events.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that the next weekend you can breathe.
Well, and also if you're a working mama, there's a lot of mom guilt sometimes when you're working those long hours or not available to, your kids who would like you always to be available. And so to be able to say like, oh, I've set aside this special time for us, I feel like it makes working hard easier for me.
Well, and
So,
you do Mondays with Mom.
Mondays are always my mom day. Yeah, that's in the summer we have Mom Mondays. But
Which I love that because I'll see on your Instagram, oh, the kids and I went to blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
or we did this. And I think, how perfect, because for all of us, we never have enough time in our lives. But if you just said Mondays are for Mom.
Well, and we leave the house because otherwise I would work or do house chores. So it's
There's
always
always
an adventure.
laundry.
Yes,
And
yes.
so-
So we leave the house so Mom can't work.
I love it.
Right?
So there's another tip if you're thinking about weddings is to plan ahead and give yourself some time. Now, as you're finishing this up, do you have any last bit of advice that, if somebody is thinking about getting into weddings, or maybe they've done just a few, but they're wanting to expand and go, okay, I'm going to be a wedding guru.
Oh,
This is going to be my life. Life balance, that was one
Right.
that you shared.
Right? Embrace social media and what's going on in marketing. Network with other wedding professionals. Find some, like-minded wedding professionals that are building their businesses that you can network with and glean ideas off of. So many ideas.
But you have done a wonderful job of networking, and I see that when you're doing photo shoots or you're doing a class or whatever, you bring in this team of people that you obviously have a good rapport with and can feel comfortable knowing it makes all of you look good, which is so important.
Yeah, finding those business partners for sure. So
Challenging.
yeah, but but does allow for so many marketing opportunities like photo shoots and things like that. So.
Yeah. So I know that Jeri will be talking about a lot of these things in the Wedding Trends class. I know that there were probably more questions that came through that we'll take a look and make sure and comment on and such. If you think of something after the broadcast is over, type it in there, send us an email, look up Jeri's Instagram page. It's Bella Bloom Florals, and make sure you follow her because she does a brilliant job on her social. You can see her in her stories as well as in the Instagram. She also has a Facebook, but I think Instagram is your bigger, or am I speaking out of line?
We kind of connect them. We feed one to the other. We feel like it's important to keep our Facebook active, but most of our clients seem to hang out on Instagram. So I always share this with classes, but we book about 7% of our clients straight off Instagram with zero marketing dollars invested. And so I feel like that's a good return.
Excellent.
So, I mean, there's some time in there. But
Right, there is time. So that's a little tease and a taste of what you're going to see in our classroom, be it basic floral design, advanced floral design, the wedding trends and techniques, the entrepreneur. These are the types of things we're doing. And when you do it in class, you get that intimate time to really focus. When doing it live, we go fast. We're like, oh, make this bouquet, get it done, answer these questions.
Right.
But live is fun. So I want to thank each of you for joining us. Please do check out Bella Bloom Florals. Say hi to Jeri, tap your screen with love, share this out, tag a friend, all those things, and come join us for Flower School because we love to have you around.
And
Thanks.
I would love to talk weddings with them.
I know.
I get a little carried away.
But isn't it the best?
Yes.
So thank you for giving
Yeah.
us your Wednesday afternoon.
Absolutely.
I know that was a big deal to try
I'm
to
running
squeeze
home
in.
to make a lasagna, but we wear lots of
Lasagna
hats.
next.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
I love
lasagna next.
So thank you all. Thanks to Carolyn, Marisa, Caledonia, Susie. We couldn't do it without you. And thank you to you. Get out there and go do something.